present from the beginning. All right. All right, well, good morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michelle Davis, principal over at Mrachek. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all this morning. I'm just going to begin with our 2019 achievement data. So our school performance framework, there's a 3-year snapshot for you. This past year, so our 2019 results, which of course inform the SPF for this year, are that we are in a priority improvement. The year before, we were within 0.7% of being a performance school. And the year prior to that, we were in a similar situation to where we are this year. What we've uncovered or knew going in as potential factors that were impacting our reduced performance and hence our SPF status is that we did have 1 month less of instruction due to our construction calendar. We also found some challenges as we moved into the new building with just figuring out what some of those opportunities for students were going to be, as well as for teachers around new expectations that had to be put in place and developing culture. The other issue was we had some capacity issues with 7th grade teachers.
We'll be covering the 20%.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure if somebody was asking me a question or.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I just heard people talking. So one of the things that we did last spring was to make some changes to how teachers were assigned in the building. And then we also did non-renew some teachers, specifically in 7th grade and one 8th grade teacher. This year, we are also having our teaching partner work very closely with our math and literacy teachers in 7th grade to do collaborative planning and receive coaching and support from her. And then our 7th grade teachers, as I said, very much a stronger group this year. They are doing a really good job of not only working with their grade level partner, but also working as a group of 10 teachers, 2 teams, to create a culture for our 7th graders that supports their academics. So that's been an improvement over the previous year. Our trend data for achievement, again, 3 years worth of data there. Statistically significant data points. So when I say statistically significant, I'm using the 3% or more as change as being statistically significant. So you'll see in that pink cohort, which is our current 8th graders, that we did see literacy achievement declined by 3.3% for that cohort group between 6th and 7th grades. And you will see that there was a decline in math as well of about 3.5%. Again, that speaks to some of the challenges we faced with 7th grade teachers, as well as less time. The blue cohort are the kids who are currently in high school. We did see a positive trend for the cohort group in math. We saw an increase of a little over 9% for students. And so it makes me wonder what might they have accomplished had we had that extra month, because that's definitely some strong growth for that particular group of students. Strong increase in achievement. 7th grade literacy achievement did decline by 7.3% just comparing year to year, so not the same cohort group. And the 8th grade literacy did decline by 3.7%. We, again, made some changes in staffing there that I believe will help to address that. We do have one 8th grade literacy teacher who's a very strong teacher, and I'll talk a little bit more about her on the next slide. So the next slide reflects our growth. Again, statistically significant data points. We saw a decrease 6th to 7th grade in our MGP in literacy of 12 points.
Loser. She may have to sign back on if she kicked herself off.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
We gotcha.
we got you.
Hello?
Yes,
You're good. You're good, Michelle.
you're good.
All right.
It doesn't sound like, can you hear us, Michelle?
Yep, I just made an adjustment now, so it had cut the sound out on my end. All right. So going back to trend data, frankly, I don't remember where I was, but basically what you'll see there is the cohort groups are highlighted for review. We did see a fair amount of decline both year to year as well as within the cohort group specifically in literacy. I would point out here that Sheila Marvel, who's one of our 8th grade teachers, her MGP was 61.5, and she tends to be in that 60 to 68 MGP with her students year in and year out. So she is a definite bright spot. We had some relative bright spots. For example, our ELL students and our special education students did outgrow our gen ed students. We also had no gap between our boys and girls in growth and no gap between our free and reduced lunch and non-free and reduced lunch student. I say relative bright spots because the problem is we're not getting in the MGP that we need to get. If we were getting 60, 70 for our MGP, this would be truly a strength. So what we're working toward is how do we continue to not have gaps and get that MGP up on the high side of 50. So next slide, our interim number 1 data. Okay. All right, interim number 1, so the mastery data, this is not how it is being shared with staff, but Zach and I talked about for the purposes of this presentation, looking at relative performance with other middle schools.
Is it her connection? Mhm.
The other one only had 4%. She is a brand new teacher who we have been working with, Ken, Malia, and our teaching partner to provide extra support there. Our goal and intent is to continue to build on the initial mastery and success demonstrated by our students to increase mastery levels as we move towards interims 2 and 3. What have we been doing differently this year to get results? We do have our teachers taking the interim in advance and then planning backward from the interim. We've got weekly DDI meetings in place now, facilitated by administrators, supported by our teaching partner. Teaching partner is also working very closely with, as I mentioned before, 7th grade teachers, math and literacy in particular. We continue to have the UVA feedback and support, which is greatly appreciated. And then, as previously mentioned, reassignment and non-renewal of ineffective staff members. 90-day plan highlights. Our big rocks are curriculum components and collaboration structures. I'm not going to read the slide to you. Would just point out that within collaboration structures, we are moving forward with emphasizing what we were calling 6-week plans and are going to retitle interim instructional plans, because that's really what they are, as they move us from one interim to another. And we are going to be in our 4 core content areas selecting a 4th interim to give in early May so that teachers can have that final data point and use the last couple weeks of school to address any learning that is still not at mastery in those last couple weeks of school. Around curriculum components, we are working closely with district coaches as well as our teaching partner and administrators to really ensure that, especially in math and literacy, we are using the resources and implementing those with fidelity. So we are using Teachers College and, of course, PSOC for the math. The next batch of information that was requested was around human resources, supports, and support services challenges and needs. What I did add on the left for each group is just maybe a couple of bright spots, I guess. Kristen Stieber has been doing a really great job of supporting Mrachek through monthly check-ins, as well as being responsive to any requests for assistance. And the hiring processes and timelines have definitely gotten better in the last couple of years. And I know that's something that has been previous feedback, so wanted to note that. A couple things that we are still having needs around would be timely recruitment and hiring of high quality teachers, specifically in special ed and math. I know that's not new information, but it is important. I made a note, licensed and classified, obviously not referring to teachers in the classified section of the special ed grouping there, but we do have 4 center-based programs, and definitely find a challenge in filling all of those paraeducator positions with strong, high quality candidates. Another area with classified staff is around restorative liaisons, campus monitors, those kinds of positions. So any ideas around that or support from human resources would be appreciated. And then one of the things that continues to be a challenge is would be those teachers who are not performing where they should be. Our need is for a timely release or some sort of creative solution for those non-probationary teachers who do demonstrate 2 consecutive years of less than effective ratings. Right now, once that has been documented, we are required to bring them back for another year in our buildings as a probationary teacher, which just adds another year of impact on our students. So I threw out an idea there of, maybe there's a possibility that those people could be assigned to the substitute teacher pool. That would help us address some of our needs with unfilled positions and potentially decrease the impact it would spread the impact around, I guess, is really what it does. Or maybe completely removes that impact, because it does look different when there's a substitute teacher in the classroom. But that was an idea, trying to come up with solutions, not just problems. Closely related to that is the licensed employee development plan process. It's very time consuming, and in my experience, it doesn't result in teacher improvement. So I'm curious about what possibilities there might be to change that. Or is there data to show that it really is effective, and that perhaps a learning opportunity for me around that? So throw that one out there. And then a very minor thing, but if we could look at differentiating our evaluation trainings for returning evaluators, maybe an hour-long session to review the highlights of the process and note any changes. Right now, it's typically a 4-hour block, and then maybe gets reduced to 2 for returning evaluators, but that's not necessarily something communicated up front. So we're blocking out that time, committing that time to the process. Again, relatively minor thing, but thought I would mention it. Support services, a lot of strengths here. Transportation, we now have a bus to the Robinwood Apartments, which is very, very positive, something we've worked on the last few years and we're able to get this year. Security is highly responsive to our requests. We've been very fortunate to have a new building, and most recently, Allison Perlman has been our contact around finishing up the project and warranty work with JHL. And then we also are very fortunate as far as our technology funds. It's put us in a position where while we have one-to-one computing, although we are not assigning them to students, there are iPads or Chromebooks in basically all of our classrooms. A challenge or a need would be SRO support. I know this is something across all middle schools based on last week's middle school principal meeting we had. And an idea here would be to potentially assign one of the 2 people assigned to the high school to be at specifically Mrachek. I don't know if that would work at other middle school, high school combos as well. I know that there's talk of expanding the program, that there are 3 people who are supposed to be middle school SROs and they are all out on leave. So perhaps this is just a short-term solution, or perhaps it could be a long-term solution, knowing that finding SROs is definitely challenging. Supports requested around equity and learning. On the left, I'm not going to read them all to you. These are all the people who we've been working with some for longer than just this year, but definitely people we are working with this year to get the support we need to move forward. We are greatly appreciative of the DDI days. I know that our staff felt very well prepared and appreciative of the opportunity for that first DDI day. And then our UVA partnership, I would just mention again that that's been very helpful and is greatly appreciated. Our needs, we definitely need support with developing plans for tier 2 and definitely 3 students, especially the ones who are struggling with behavior. What are those behavior interventions? How do we monitor them? In some cases, it may mean that we need resources.
Hello?
We can hear
Hello?
you, Michelle.
Hey there, Michelle. We
All
hear
right,
you.
perfect. All right. So sorry about this. Anyway, the alternative school options for middle school students, as you can see there, I delineate the reasons why. And what we see is a really small percentage of our students who are disrupting the learning for a majority. And again, as a middle school principal group, we were trying to brainstorm ideas around, what that might look like, and didn't come up with a lot of ideas, but are definitely open to conversation around that. The second bullet is around offering professional development specifically for math and literacy teachers that is required and not during the school day. So an idea around that was that extending the professional development calendar and that everybody could benefit from that. That fourth bullet talks about threat assessment training. It would be really beneficial if our threat assessment training was targeted on the specific school needs as identified by Dina's group. And if we were able to do that prior to students coming back, so counselors and other support staff would also benefit from having some extra days that were devoted to professional development, whether that's threat assessment training, assist training, those kinds of things. So that's what's on that slide. And just ending with, I look forward to continuing our partnership with the whole district, but in particular equity and learning, and feel like we are getting a lot of the support we need to continue to move forward in improving our student growth and achievement. Sorry for all the technical difficulties.
So Michelle, thank you for this. I mean, our team is going to go back and review all of the presentations to make sure that we're on the same page, and then we will respond as soon as we are able to review those things and the specific areas of support from the different departments. They'll be reaching out just to confirm, is this what we heard? Is this what you need? And then how do we move forward from there? So I thank you for this. I didn't want to pull you guys out and have you down here for 25 minutes or an hour, or whatever the case may be, but we just need to hear from you around this is your data, this is what you're targeting, and how we can support. Both Damon and Anthony will also be reviewing the presentation to make sure that they are responsive from their divisions to address any needs that you brought forth. So we'll come back in that process of the next time we get together. We want to know, did we do what we promised? What evidence do you see of our impact, and then how do we continue to support? So thank you for that.
Thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
Michelle.
You bet, and bye.